Facebook page.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, I'm checking in for my flight.
Lovely. Business or pleasure?
Holiday.
And where will you be staying?
With my parents, they live over there.
Lovely. Travel insurance?
Oh, no thanks.
Have you got travel insurance?
No.
Checked to see if you need any vaccinations?
No.
Checked out the local laws?
No, look. Why do I need to know all this? I'm just staying with my parents.
Is either of your parents A local lawyer, or the chief of police, B, fabulously wealthy, C, the owner of a private plane with its own fully trained medical staff, or D, none of the above?
D?
Lovely. Are you a superhero and in fact immortal?
Things can go wrong on holiday abroad, even if you're staying with family. So check it out before you check in. Find out more at gov.uk/knowbeforeyougo.
You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. You're probably thinking, well, Jordan, would I want to go there? Yes, you would. And we're going to find out when I speak to Stephen Hurp, who works for Brighter Group, who represents the Jordanian Tourist Board in London and have done for a number of years now. And we're going to find out exactly what you can see and do there and why you should visit. But of course, if you're not exactly sure where anywhere is, the first thing you need to do is to find out where it is. So the first question I asked Stephen was, where exactly is Jordan?
Well, Jordan is located in the middle of the Middle East region. Its longest border is with Israel on its western side, and it has borders down in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba, and to the north it has borders with Lebanon and Syria as well, and to the eastern side it has borders with Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It is in the middle of what we can only describe as a fairly troubled region. The Jordanians themselves describe their country as a quiet house in a noisy neighborhood, and it certainly is an oasis of calm in a troubled region. You can certainly describe it as the eye of the storm, as an oasis of calm. That part of the world is very much in the news at the moment because of the impacts of the Arab Spring and what has been transpired subsequently in Syria and other countries of the region. What is difficult for Jordan is that it does get painted with that brush, whereas it's been 10 years since there were any incidents in Jordan that could be linked to any acts of terrorism. So it remains very much a politically stable and calm country surrounded by an awful lot of unrest. The Jordanian system of government is based on the UK system. They have we have members of parliament, and we have the House of Lords. They have members of parliament, and they have the Senate also. So there's a system of free elections, and then members of the Senate are appointed by the King, just as we have a similar constitutional monarchy here in the UK.
The fact of where it is and surrounded by all this events, I guess you could say, has an impact on the amount of visitors that have visited Jordan?
Yes, it has. I mean, the number of visitors from the UK to Jordan has been growing since the early 2000s. We've grown, in my experience, from I think 2006, we had about 45,000 people, and then up to 2010, 2011, and the start of the Arab Spring in the surrounding countries, we had almost 70,000. It has dipped. It plateaued in 2011 and 2012, and it has dipped a little bit this year. In particular, it's around about 20 to 25% down compared to the previous year. There is a degree of concern about particularly the emergence of the so-called Islamic State in the surrounding countries and what impact, if any, that might have on Jordan. But I can only assure people that I would go to Jordan tomorrow. In fact, my colleague Rebecca was in Jordan just last week. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office advice remains constant, as it has done for several years now, basically saying stay away from the refugee camps and don't go near the Syrian border. And apart from that, everywhere is open for business. All of the major sites on any particular tourist itinerary are still open to visitors, and you can see for yourself as well. If you go to visitjordan.com, which is the official tourism board website, they have live webcams that you can see for downtown Amman, for Dead Sea, for Aqaba, for Petra, and you can see for yourself exactly what is going on in the region.
So it's an oasis surrounded by a load of chaos. So I want to go because I've done the research for the questions. It looks a great place to go. So how would I get there from the UK?
There are direct flights from the UK. You can choose British Airways, our own national carrier, or Royal Jordanian, which is the national flag carrier of Jordan. British Airways fly in the morning, Royal Jordanian fly in the afternoon, both from London Heathrow. And it's a direct flight to Amman, the capital city of Jordan, and the flight takes approximately 5 hours. There are various other options as well if you want to fly via Paris or via Amsterdam or even via Istanbul with Turkish Airlines, and you can connect down to Aqaba, for instance, which is down on the Red Sea coast.
Do UK passport holders need a visa to visit?
Yes, you do. You need a visa, and it is payable on arrival. So you can get it in advance if you surrender your passport to the consulate here in London, and they will charge you the visa fee, and they will also charge you a handling fee also. But on arrival at Queen Alia Airport, you before you go through to collect your baggage, if you queue up once to buy your visa, it's like a little postage stamp that goes in your passport, and then you queue up for immigration, and then from there straight through to pick up your bag. So it's a very straightforward process, just like getting a visa on arrival if you go to Egypt or to Turkey, as I remember, or Kenya or anywhere else in the world.
You share a border with Israel. Can you just show up on that border, or do you need to get a visa in advance for that if you come in that way?
You can show up and get a visa on arrival at any international border crossing, and I labour those points because there are border crossings between Jordan and Israel, both in the north of the country and down in the south of the country at Eilat, that are recognised by both sovereign states as international border crossings, and you can get visas on arrival at those crossings. The most direct route between Amman and, for instance, Jerusalem goes through the Allenby Bridge, which is not recognised by the Jordanians as an international border crossing because it goes into the occupied Palestinian territories of the West Bank. So if you were to arrive into Jordan going through that route, you would have to have your visa in advance.
Life gets so complicated sometimes, doesn't it?
It is a slightly weird element. It's almost like a no man's land because technically, is it a country? Is it not? It's administered by the Israelis, but technically it's Palestine. But it's only a short journey up to the northern border crossing. Or, of course, if you fly from Tel Aviv into Amman, apparently, not that I've done it myself, but the scenery is spectacular. It's a relatively small aircraft. It flies quite low, and the scenery is meant to be absolutely brilliant.
I'd enjoy that, but my wife doesn't like flying low, so she'll have to go across my road and I'll go on my own. Do you need any jabs to visit Jordan?
There are no specific jabs in terms of yellow fever like you might need for parts of the Amazon basin, but I would certainly recommend speaking to your GP before any travel to just make sure that you're up to date with any tetanus booster jabs or anything like that.
I'm glad there's no yellow fever. The last time I had that, I fainted. I'm a big Jessie. I just went. You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. So let's get back to Stephen talking about Jordan and finding out the areas that make up the country.
Jordan is 96% desert and sand. But that doesn't mean that it is all just one broad expanse of featureless countryside. From the north, you've got the very fertile Jordan River Valley. So that's on the border with Israel. A great deal of rainfall in the north, so it's very green and lush, and that means it rains in the wintertime, and there's an awful lot of agriculture and even viniculture that happens up in the north of the country. And you've got wonderful national parks such as Ajloon, and you've got the Roman cities of the Decapolis at Pella, at Qais, at Jerash. And if you follow that western border of Jordan all the way down from north to south, that's the start of the Great Rift Valley that then goes down through Africa, down through Kenya. And of course, the highlight of that particular border is the Dead Sea, a unique place on Earth. It's 450 meters below sea level. There's 8% more oxygen in the air when you're stood by the Dead Sea than at sea level. Just as if you go up into the mountains, the air gets thinner. As you go below sea level, the air gets thicker. And so the combination of more oxygen in the atmosphere, of more air for sun's rays to get through, of the unique vitamins in the mud and everything, it really is a unique place on Earth, and is a natural spa. But all the way down that Jordan River Valley, you can follow the King's Highway. And it goes from very green and lush in the north, and then it's more desert and more, dare one say, Middle Eastern as you move down to the south. Ending up, of course, in the port city of Aqaba, famously taken by the forces of the Great Arab Revolt, led by Lawrence of Arabia back in 1916. And just north of Aqaba is the protected UNESCO World Heritage Site of Wadi Rum, and that is proper, wonderful, epic, rose red desert landscapes with great granite monoliths, and you can take a 4x4 tour with a local Bedouin, you can take camel rides, you can stay in Bedouin camps and whatnot. And this particular landscape is made famous from not only the Lawrence of Arabia back in 1962, but other recent films. And just this year, the Ridley Scott Hollywood blockbuster with Matt Damon, The Martian, was filmed. All of the scenes that were purportedly on Mars were filmed exclusively in Wadi Rum. So you can go and live that for yourself. And just a little bit further north of Wadi Rum, we come to the jewel in the crown, which is the ancient city of Petra, a rose-red city half as old as time, carved into the rock there, and you can certainly put that on your list of things to see. You need to spend at least a day, if not 2 or even 3 there. As we move out into the rest of the country, there are swathes of featureless desert. But even if you go due east from Amman out towards the road towards Saudi Arabia and even out to Iraq, there are places of interest. You've got the desert castles, you've got Qaza Umrah, Umar Rasas. These are critical in terms of the development of world religions of both Islam and from Catholicism. And you can even take a day trip out to the Azraq wetlands as well, an oasis in the desert, which is a critical staging post for migratory birds going north and south.
There's an awful lot, isn't there, when you think about it, considering you said so much of it is desert.
There is an awful lot to pack in, but the country is quite compact. You can drive from the northern border to the southern border in about 6 hours. And because there's an awful lot of desert, what you'll generally see tends to be concentrated on that on the western side of the country. So it's not as if you're crossing huge distances like you might be in the United States or in Australia. So you can do justice to Jordan by traveling there for a week. If you have 10 days, all the better. But you can do justice from travelling for a day, 5 days on the ground, and travel back a day.
You said driving. Can you get around on public transport? Is that possible?
You can. There are the jet buses, JETT, and they're the equivalent of National Express. So they go from Jerusalem and Israel all the way across down into Amman, then from Amman down to Aqaba via Petra and back up again. The local buses, I think that's confusing enough even for the locals. But taxis are widely available, widely used, and widely controlled as well. They'll have meters. They're all painted yellow, and it's an accepted way of getting around, not only for tourists but also for the locals. Or of course you can hire a car. My parents hired a car when they were there in 2010. Dad was 70 if he was a day, and if he can get around, I'm sure the rest of us can.
I'm not too sure about me, but there we go. I was driving around Dominica, a small island, and there's one roundabout, and I missed it. I went round it the wrong way. That was another story.
I was there in March, and we actually made a detour so they could show us the roundabout. It was very exciting.
I do love the place, but I mean, they're so laid back, they make people from Barbados look hyperactive, don't they?
Yes, it is. It is a great destination.